Morning, friends. Scott Brookins here. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you had a great weekend. Depending on what you did, whether you had to work or had ministry to do, or just could spend time with family and friends. And just wanted to share something with you. And the title of this is "That's So Rude." And I want to share a story with you. When my family and I lived in Europe for a year. We lived in the Czech Republic. We rented an apartment in this great little town, small town, and we were on I think the third or fourth floor, not the top, but there was two apartments on the landing, ours and one across the landing. And we didn't know people there. We didn't know the language. We tried to learn some of the language, and Laura taught our kids some homeschool of the Czech language, which was not relevant at all. But we just picked it up. We had a dictionary, and Laura would go shopping and, read the ingredients and translate it in her dictionary so we knew what we were buying and try to talk to the people in the shops. Me, on the other hand, I didn't pick up the language. I picked up, please and thank you and yes and no in many different countries that we traveled to, and mainly in Czech. When I'd go to the shops, I'd point and ask for certain things and then count. And your thumb was always number one in Europe. In America, we don't use that as much. But I just learned that, and I smiled and tried to say thank you in their whatever the language was, and I got away doing very well. So this one time we had been traveling. Czech Republic was our home base, and then we traveled to several countries in and out. And we had been away for about a month in the country of Hungary, and we came back, and one morning I got a knock on the door, and so I answered it, and it was our neighbor lady from across the landing, and she had picked up our mail that was down in the box, and there was a package, a manila envelope that someone had mailed us something from the States, which was always exciting. And so she handed me this package, and I confidently thanked her. I said, "Kirsenum," and she just kept walking towards her door. And I started to shut our door, and I was thinking, boy, she was really rude. And I'll get back to the end of that. But have you ever had anybody be rude to you or ignore you when you're talking? Or have you done that to others? And how does that make you feel when that happens? A couple of weeks ago, I was at church, our home church, and talking to a guy that I know, and he was sharing a story, something, and I had something to add to that was very similar. And as I'm sharing it, his mind, I could just see kind of blank out, and his eyes are starting to look, and he's waving to people, and I just kind of stopped talking, because I know he wasn't even listening. And I, in my mind, I wanted to just start to mumble or start to say, so, that's what happened. I shot him and buried him in the backyard, and that's it. Just just to see what his reaction would be. I didn't say that, but I want to. And boy, that hurts our feelings. And, usually when we traveled in Europe, people are very nice to help us because we didn't know the language, and we'd ask directions, and they'd stumble over English or, help us out. And so it was a very easy process. But, sometimes it wasn't. And Laura and I were in a bus stop one time in Hungary trying to make connections with an all-day travel, and there were some college-age kids, or definitely high school. And we know that they teach English in the schools over there, or at least did at this time. And we tried to ask this young man directions, or if this was the right bus that we were getting on. And he did not even look at us. He did not even respond to us. And that was very rude, right? And so I was brought up that when you're talking to someone, you have eye contact, right? You pay attention, you focus on what they're saying, and then you can respond. And in the book of James in the Bible, James tells us this a little bit. In chapter 1, verse 19, it says, "My dear brothers, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen and slow to speak." Hey, Steve, good to see you. Quick to listen, pay attention, listen more, and slow to speak. And don't be thinking of things that you're trying to come back with, focus on what the people are saying. Don't ignore them. Don't be rude. And so I want to just encourage us today to maybe check ourselves, because I know people are rude to us. That happens all the time. But are we being rude to others? Maybe even not intentionally. And so back to our story, when our neighbor gave me this package and I thanked her very confidently and said, Cursinum, and then I was shutting the door and I thought she was kind of rude because she didn't even, nod or smile or anything. And then I realized that I had just thanked her in Hungarian. Because as I mentioned, we had been in Hungary for a month, and so I had kind of really gotten mastered of, please and thank you. And so thank you in the Hungarian language, Cursinum, just came out of my mouth very confidently. Well, that wasn't her language. And so I opened the door and I yelled across the hall before she shut her door, Yikwi, which was my way to say thank you in Czech. There's many different ways. That's the one I learned. And I apologize to my Hungarian and Czech friends that I'm not pronouncing these things correctly, but that's the best I could do. And at that point, she turned around and started laughing and smiled and waved to me. So, the moral of this story, I thought she was rude to me. I was rude to her because I thanked her in a language she didn't know. I mean, she probably recognized it because they're neighboring countries. And so inadvertently, I was rude to her. And thankfully, God corrected me, and I was able to catch that and thank her properly. And we got, kind of that chuckle in between of my mistakes or American friend. So I want to just encourage you today. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you like and share this and encourage others to have an amazing day. And you have an amazing day yourself. God bless.